to the team from the project management module, which is one of our most nominated modules in the Blackboard and VLE Awards this year, and ultimately a winning module. So congratulations to you. Did you want to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about the module?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my name's Nicholas Dacre. I'm an associate professor in project management at the University of Southampton, and it's been my pleasure working here for a number of years. Before that, I was based at the Science Policy Research Unit at SPRU at the University of Sussex, and previously to that at the University of Warwick Business School. But during my time here at Southampton, this module has just been absolutely amazing year on year. The varied numbers of students that we get from all different backgrounds, the diversity is just absolutely it warms your heart, really. And it's been a pleasure this year running the module with the rest of the team as well, who I'll let themselves introduce themselves.
My name is Fredrik. I'm a third year PhD student here at University of Southampton and the business school. And I was very lucky to be invited by Nicholas to help out and have seminars in MNG 3034. And it was a pure pleasure just to meet the students through a different format virtually this time. And they brought some challenges, but I was very happy to work with the rest of the team. And in the end, it turned out to be a very successful course, and we're very happy with that.
Yeah, and my name is Vasilis Gkogkidis, and I'm an associate member of staff at the University of Southampton. And I'm also super happy with the result of this module and the collaboration with Nicholas and Fred. I thought that when we started, we didn't know what's going on online, how do we do that? But in the end, it worked out great. And I'm so happy that the students agree with us that it worked out great.
So the module was adapted to how we thought our students wanted to interact and how we thought they would have be most engaged with the module content. So instead of having to adapt to an unfamiliar learning environment for the students, we thought, well, let's adapt the content to what they're used to. So the videos that Nicholas developed was inspired, very friendly, YouTube-inspired format, divided in separate sections. And I think this was key for the students to interact throughout the semester. And I think this was key for us to get this many nominations. And also the video content was also combined with a practical element with the seminars, which we all helped out with, where the students were actually able to interact in groups. And we used this virtual online tool called Miro, which really enabled us to still have this collaborative environment, even though everyone was working virtually. So I think that combination between a very video-friendly element, which was key for them to pick up theoretical elements of the module, together with a practical collaboration tool, was a very good recipe that Nicholas developed for the course.
I think it was very much a collaboration. It was a collaboration not only between us as a team, but it was also very much a collaboration with the students. And the three of us this is an area of research that we are passionate about. And we've published some research and some papers around this idea of stakeholder engagement and collaborating with students. So we were trying to move away from this kind of didactic, hierarchical, the lecturer or the professors at the top, the students are there to listen kind of attitude. And we were much more about, let's do this together as like a sense of community. Let's do this together as a team with the students. Let's collaborate with them. And we discussed and reviewed many different approaches to how we could best achieve this. And we even explored the idea of using Discord as a tool to kind of use the tools that our students are effectively used to using on a regular basis. And as fully support what Fred has just said, and the tool that we eventually adapted and adopted was Miro, in terms of just giving us that dynamic engagement, that kind of group work aspect. And I'll just finish on this. I think one of the key aspects of this particular module is to ensure that our students are ready for their future careers, and that we can bring in as much transferable knowledge and skills and to embed that into their kind of critical thinking, so that when they leave university, we fully realize that on our module, not all of them will be project managers because they come from a HR background or a marketing background or a finance background, but have elected, or in some cases, to do this module. So we want to make sure that that knowledge and skill that people can gain from project management is transferable to all those different areas. And the greatest reward that we get is via LinkedIn, when students reach out to us and say, you know, the tools and skills that you taught us during the modules, actually, I didn't maybe quite understand their value at the time, but I'm using them in my marketing job right now, or in my project management job right now. And that's for us hugely rewarding.
For us, it was really important that we kind of arrived at the style that fit online learning. So I think we are used, and I think especially people from a from a certain age are used to YouTube videos and podcasts. And this was all to Nicholas' credit, a great idea to organize his lectures in these 20-minute sections, let's say. So you would have a 1-hour lecture in 3 sections. And it was really easy for the students to kind of engage with that content and follow. And then the slides were also available for them if they wanted to have a look. So a lot of the students said, yeah, I can go back and re-watch and like download the slides and have a look and take notes as I'm watching the video. And I think that was really useful for them. The fact that it wasn't a whole hour lecture, and the fact that the style of the video was more like a podcast, and it had a little icon and little voice thingy that would play to Nicholas' voice. It was, no, I really liked it. It's the first time that I saw something like that. I thought it was a great idea to kind of engage the students in a way that they are familiar with, because we have to reflect, who are we teaching? How old are these people? What do they watch online? What is the material they engage with? I thought that was really smart feature to go towards a podcast style of lecturing, let's say. And then Fred mentioned Miro, and actually both Fred and Nicholas mentioned Miro, and that was also a process that we went through, the 3 of us. We tried a couple of different tools, and it took time. It took time. Now it's like, oh, it was obvious, but it wasn't obvious at the time when you think about it. So I think for every teacher, I would say reflect on what you're going to do in the classroom when online, and reflect what would you do in the classroom if it was in person. And how does it translate in a user-friendly way in online? Because user-friendly was a big one for me. I come from a computer science background, and using accessible software was like important, I thought. And Miro, for example, allows the students to collaborate without signing in, without creating an account. You just send them a link and off they go. And the environment is quite easy to understand, I think. It didn't take them a long time to kind of figure out what's happening. It's a collaboration tool, so it's not supposed to be complicated. So I think our advice for everyone out there is think about the interactions, what would happen in person, and how is that the best translation to online, and what is the tool that can help you bridge that gap. Obviously it's not the same, but I think we were pretty close. I think it was quite close to the real world experience, to the in-person experience, I should say. And something like a last comment I would like to make, because I've seen that in a lot of universities across the world. We did an academic skills workshop that I think down the line really helped us and the students write their assignments, because we had a mixed group of people, meaning that they were from different backgrounds. And for example, the math students had never written an essay at university level. And doing an academic skills workshop was super important. And again, that came from the idea of who is the audience, what do they really need? And I think that was really useful in the end for them.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I mean, essentially content, you know, in response to the question, what would you recommend to a colleague wanting to improve their VLE? Content is key. As we all know, content is key. Having said that, the platform that you use to then deliver that content makes things more accessible or less accessible to certain individuals. And I think that's sometimes we tend to kind of forget about the delivery format. So I think it's about, for academics, working within the resources that they have got, that we have available to us, but enhancing those resources. And as I said, content is absolutely key, but how we deliver that content is also vitally important to engaging with the audience and the students.
Carrying on from that, I guess I'm interested, there's quite a big time commitment, I imagine, in getting this information together. If someone is saying, I've got very limited time, what's the one thing that you'd say to them? Invest your time in doing this, because that's what's really transformed our students' experience learning on this module this year.
Yeah, I definitely want to answer this one, because as a team, we did a fantastic job. I mean, Vasilis and Fred might say, you know, I did this one, I did that. Actually, the ideas just kind of emerged from the team discussions. It wasn't like a single person who came up with all these brilliant ideas and everybody said yes. So in answer to your question, Anna, yes, it is hugely time consuming to kind of, like, rather than just spending a little bit of time working on your content and then just delivering 12 slides on PowerPoint. That we're all used to that system, and it can be quite straightforward. Recording a video, doing a podcast, using enhancing your skills in developing sessions in Miro, all of that is hugely time consuming. However, where it pays off is that investment that you make into developing these additional platforms for delivery. You can actually refine them and enhance them through very little effort and use them again the following and ensuing year, or you can adapt them to other modes or modules of delivery as well. So actually what you're doing is you invest in your time, but it's an investment into the future. It's not suddenly a case of, well, that was great for that year, we're not going to use it anymore, and we spent countless hours and weekends working trying to develop these tools. So what we've done as a team, really, is the way we look at it is, yes, we took a lot of time, but actually we've invested into the future of the module and other modules, because not only did we learn skills as academics, but also we can enhance through very little minor tweaks. You know, we've still got the templates from Miro that we can use in other modules or other project management sessions and so on and so forth. And these get refined and refined over time. Sorry, Fred, Vasilis, I mean, maybe you've got a different take on it.
No, I mean, I agree 100% with the investment of time, and it never goes to waste, never. But I think if you really don't have time, if you really don't have time, you know, academics are busy people, and different things might happen during different periods of your life. You might be writing a book or a very important paper, and I've seen that happen. I've seen people collapse, you know, and I've seen people not come to class because they had an extreme deadline for something. And I would say, for me personally, the most important, and I think what really helped all of us, was this idea or principle, if you like, you know, who are these people at the other end of the screen? You know, who are our students? Because, for example, what I mentioned before, if it was all business students, then okay, perhaps some of the content that we picked wouldn't be the same. You know, it might be a little more complex, or we might not spend so much time in terms of how do you write an essay type of teaching. So for me, invest some time in reflecting who the people on the other end are and how can you serve them best. Because sometimes, you know, serving people in the best possible way maybe is not the traditional way. And maybe actually just, you know, having a friendly chat or something that is less structured and you don't need to be preparing for hours and hours for, might be even more helpful. You know, with first year students, undergraduate, sometimes it's just like talking about life. Because, you know, it's the first year in university and they do have a hard time, you know, managing their time or reading or studying or whatever. So, you know, I've taught first years and sometimes it was just talking, you know, I didn't present anything. We kind of just discussed what the challenges are around being a first year student. And yeah, this reflection, I think for me personally, was really important, that we took the time to think, you know, who these people are. For example, I think most of our students, or all of them, were in their last year, if I'm not mistaken. And
Correct.
you know, that was something that we needed to keep in mind. Like Nicholas said, some of them now have jobs. So the content that we picked also reflected, you know, could this be useful for them in a year's time?
Yeah, and also like to just add to that. If time is very limited, and that's what we all are fighting against. If we could have more of that, what we were lucky of having was a great team that we trusted each other, and we knew that the other parties will do a great job and put in the effort, which made each other, each individual also make the effort, because we all knew that would come back to us, and it turned out to be a great result. So yeah, every lecturer out there struggling with time, hopefully you can have some PhD students that you trust or some colleagues that you can recruit to your module. That will definitely reduce the workload and also yeah, make it in the whole better for you.
Two things spring to mind, and one of them came as a complete and utter surprise, and as a very welcome surprise. And one of them was kind of anticipated. So the two things really: number one, prior to delivering online sessions, and all obviously prior to the COVID-19 pandemic and everything doing in person, most of our seminars were run around these kind of workshop type approaches where we would get students to do group exercises, and it was very analog, but it didn't matter because it really fulfilled its purpose excellently. And it obviously so we would give students tasks. We would give them a pen. We'd give them some graph paper, so on and so forth, and we'd get them to groups. And we say, okay, for this session, here is a scenario. For project management, I need you to develop a risk register. The risk register concept would have been discussed previously in the actual lecture, so students would have been fully kind of onboarded at that point. So, right, we're getting into a group of 4 to 6. We're going to sit around the table. We've got a marker pens. The challenge actually, when I think back at it, was that very much it was very kind of pressured in terms of time. The seminar would only last a certain amount of time. You could only guarantee that students were in that particular group in that room for a certain amount of time, and a lot of it felt quite rushed. And maybe we didn't kind of delve into the quality that we would have wanted to. So when we did. We used digital whiteboard system Miro when we delivered everything online, and we were coming up, you know, okay, same principle. I want you to develop a risk register, and we got used to this kind of online activity. The big surprise is now that we are delivering this module in person, we haven't gone back to the analog version, even though students are receiving the session in person, even though we are still asking them to work in a group. But what we are doing is we're asking them to rely on technology a lot more, because it's kind of, they're imbued with technology. They're used to using technology anyhow. So what we're doing is we're using the Miro system, the digital whiteboard system, in a classroom environment. But this is what came as a surprise. If we run out of time in the classroom, because it's an online system, now as a team, what we can say to them is, look, I'm going to have to let you go, but it's okay. I need you to keep on working on this throughout the week. And what we'll do is I'll expect the presentations the next session next week, and you'll have fully finished. So this is fantastic. It came as a complete and utter surprise. So we really are delving into the kind of richness, the deep quality that we were yearning for in the analog system. And now we have an opportunity to kind of encourage students to really take these exercises out of the classroom and to bring them back in through this digital system. that was a really kind of fantastic, unexpected welcome. So we are going to continue using those analog tools. The second one, I said there was 2 points. The second one came less as a surprise, and it was a bit more anticipated. What we were able to do with the online delivery system or digital delivery of our lectures and modules is actually we were able to ask guest speakers. This is really important in project management, that you have industry experts that come in from all different kind of backgrounds, different countries, different areas, different sectors, and so on and so forth, and share their professional wisdom on project management with students to give them their insights. Not only does it help to bridge the gap between theory and practice, but it also adds credibility to what the students are being taught, because they can see it in action. So we were able to ask people from Glasgow, from Dubai, to obviously do guest lectures and so on and so forth. And we, again, as a team, now, although we are delivering in person, we are able to continue with that process of inviting guest lecturers from Spain, from Portugal, from Vietnam, from wherever it may be, to actually join in the live session via Microsoft Teams, via Zoom, whatever it may be, for that live interaction where students are able to answer back and forth with the industry speaker. So it's enabled us to tap into a much larger pool of world experts, and to help sustain, obviously, the students' interest in the classroom. And our job is, in terms of the physical world, when we're in the lecture with the students, is to facilitate the guest industry speaker from an international setting, and to kind of generate some questions from the audience. So for me, that would be the two main things that came as one of them as a surprise, one of them a little bit anticipated, that we are going to continue to run. But ultimately, it's helped to improve the module going forward. I mean, Vasilis, Fred, what are your kind of thoughts that you would take away from online delivery that you would use in future in-person sessions, do you think?
Yeah, I'd just like to repeat what you said about the Miro tool. It's quite a threshold to start beginning using these tools, but as soon as you have to be able to learn them, that as we had to use them last year, it enables much more opportunities to continue with these tools when you have learned how to use them. So I think that would be a very good tool for the future in the in-person teaching as well.
Yeah, a very quick comment from me as well. I think with the digital technologies, the fact that they can remember is helpful for the students. So I had students that couldn't make it to the seminar, and they said, "Oh, but what did you do?" And I would just throw a link at them and they would go in and see what we did, which in person you cannot do that. You cannot recreate the experience, let's say, or you cannot even show them the pieces of paper that people wrote on. So I think the fact that these technologies have a memory, let's say, and even the students that were in the workshop can go back and revisit what happened. I think that's really useful and a very interesting feature that, now that technologies are also COVID friendly, let's say. I think, yeah, it's a very, very useful feature that these technologies have.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, thank you. That's been just a really interesting insight into why it's worked so well. Anything else that you wanted to add before we finish?
Just to say, I've said this on many times, but I need to reiterate it. We couldn't be prouder of our students. For them, it's been, final year, final semester, lockdown situation, not being able to actually see, the visit campus or come to the lectures or the seminars in person, to meet the team in person. So really, quite frankly, all the kudos goes to that fantastic cohort of students that we had. And we were very, very lucky. And it's just so heartwarming to get those positive kind of feedback via LinkedIn and email and so on and so forth from specific students who say, I'm using those tools now and it's been such an enjoyable experience, etc., etc. So, the whole credit really goes to the students. I can't imagine what it must have been like from a student perspective to have gone through that pedagogic experience. So fair play to them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It was the students that came week after week to all the live sessions that made the live sessions come alive, basically.
Yeah,
It's
it's very impressive what they managed to do the last semester during lockdown and all that pressure, additional pressure that they were already on. So it's very impressive. So a big kudos to them.